we're told the Mad Hatter is nonsense, a joke, a walking punchline in a world that doesn't make sense. He babbles, he interrupts, he laughs at nothing. And because of that, we assume he's broken. But Wonderland doesn't call him mad, because he is mad. In Alice's adventures in Wonderland, madness isn't a condition, it's a label, a way to dismiss anyone who refuses to follow the logic of the world around them. In Wonderland, rules don't create order, they create obedience. And anyone who doesn't fit neatly into that obedience becomes a problem. The Hatter isn't simply chaotic, he's incompatible. We're shown a tea party that never ends. Teacups frozen mid-pour. Conversation looping without progress. Time stuck at 6 o'clock forever. Everyone calls it nonsense. But look closer. Nothing here is random. The tea is always being served. The table is always full. The ritual never breaks. This isn't chaos. It's maintaining a facade. The Hatter is the only one who reacts to time. He argues with it. He remembers when it worked. He talks about it like something that left. And that's the moment everything changes. Because in Wonderland, forgetting is safety. Remembering is rebellion. The Mad Hatter laughs because he knows what came before. He remembers when time moved forward, when things changed, when endings existed. And that memory makes him dangerous. Not to the Queen, not to Wonderland, to the illusion that everything is fine. The Mad Hatter can't leave Wonderland because he's the only one who remembers what time used to be. And in a world built on forgetting, memory is the greatest threat of all. Wonderland isn't chaos. That's the lie we're taught to believe, because chaos would imply randomness, unpredictability, a lack of rules. But Wonderland has rules. They just don't make sense to us. Everything in Wonderland follows a structure. It just isn't a human one. Conversations loop, actions repeat, consequences reset. Nothing progresses, but nothing fully breaks either. It's not really disorder, it's containment. In Wonderland, logic is replaced. Instead of reasoning, there's repetition. Instead of meaning, there's habit. Questions aren't answered. They're redirected. Statements contradict themselves. Rules change mid-sentence. Time refuses to move forward. Not because it can't, but because it's not allowed to. The Queen doesn't rule through consistency. She rules through absurdity. Her laws contradict each other. Her punishments are arbitrary. Her authority doesn't need justification. It just exists. And because nothing makes sense, nothing can be challenged. Confusion becomes stability. And the Queen understands something no one else does. Uncertainty is dangerous. People don't revolt when they're afraid. They revolt when they're confused. So she removes confusion. Her laws don't have to make sense. They only have to be final.
If I lose my temper, you lose your head. Understand?
Off with their heads isn't just cruelty. It's closure. A way to end questions before they spread. This is why she and the Hatter coexist. He absorbs instability. She eliminates it. Two halves of the same machine. One performs chaos. The other punishes it. Together, they keep Wonderland balanced. But here's the part no one sees. The Queen can't touch time. She can command people. She can rewrite rules. She can even reshape reality. But she can't stop time from wanting to move forward. That's why she needs the Hatter. The Hatter distracts time. He keeps it looping, dancing, laughing, while she builds a world that never has to change. And that's the truth no one in Wonderland is allowed to say. The Queen doesn't fear chaos. She fears progress. And if you want to understand how Wonderland stays frozen, you have to understand the Queen of Hearts. If you want a deep dive into what the Queen of Hearts is, let me know. This is the trick of Wonderland. When everything is illogical, nothing feels wrong. You stop asking why. You stop expecting progress. You stop noticing the loop. Wonderland runs on repetition. And as long as the cycle continues, nothing changes. No growth, no escape, no endings. Lewis Carroll wasn't writing nonsense for fun. He was writing about social control, logic systems, and authority disguised as absurdity through a child's lens. In Victorian England, madness wasn't a diagnosis. It was a social verdict. To be mad meant you didn't behave correctly. You spoke out of turn. You questioned rules. You failed to perform normalcy. The Mad Hatter wasn't insane. He was inconvenient. And in a world obsessed with order, inconvenience looked like illness. The phrase mad as a hatter came from mercury poisoning, a real condition caused by hat-making practices in the 19th century. Memory loss, erratic behavior, disorientation. And when you look at it that way, the Hatter stops being a character and starts becoming a warning. The Hatter isn't broken. He's awake. Before Wonderland fractured into loops and rituals, before time stopped pretending to move forward, there was a moment, a before. And the Hatter remembers it. Long before the Tea Party became a prison, the Hatter worked with time. Not against it, not under it, with it. In Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, the Hatter explains that time is a person, not a force. He says, if you knew time as well as I do, you wouldn't talk about wasting it. It's him. Then he explains what happened. The Hatter was singing at a concert for the Queen of Hearts. The Queen accused him of murdering the time. Time took offense. And from that moment on, the Hatter says that he won't do a thing I ask. It's always 6 o'clock now. That's it. Time freezes. The Tea Party is eternal. Carroll never says time is destroyed. He never says the world breaks. He never says the Hatter is punished. He implies something worse. Time abandons him. Not the world. Him. So the Hatter isn't frozen in a stopped universe. He's stuck in a moment that no longer moves for him. Everyone else can leave the table. He can't. Time was a companion. The Hatter understood its movement, its pauses, its rules. And that understanding made him dangerous. In Wonderland, remembering is the crime. The Hatter noticed time. He saw that it had stopped moving forward, that it had been bent into a loop, that the world was repeating itself to stay stable, and he said it out loud. That was enough. Time didn't strike him down. It did something worse. It stayed. It froze at 6 o'clock and forced him to live inside the moment forever. Time doesn't stop at a random hour. It stops at 6 o'clock, and that matters. In Victorian England, 6 wasn't late. It wasn't night. It wasn't even rest. It was pause. The moment work ended, but before anything else began, a sanctioned stillness. 6 o'clock was the hour you were allowed to stop moving, allowed to sit, allowed to exist without producing anything. Not finished, not free, just suspended. That's the moment Wonderland freezes for the Hatter. Not in chaos, but in comfort. Not in collapse, but in relief. Because 6 o'clock is the safest moment of the day. No expectations, no decisions, just tea. And that's why time stops there. Not because it can't move forward, but because moving forward would mean change. And change is dangerous. 6 o'clock is the illusion that nothing has to happen next. that the world can stay exactly as it is and still call itself alive. So when the Hatter says it's always 6 o'clock, he's not describing a malfunction. He's describing a choice. A world that chose comfort over consequence, repetition over risk, stability over truth. And that's the real trap. Not madness, not chaos, but a moment stretched so long it forgets it was ever supposed to end. Time didn't stop because it was broken. It stopped because everyone was afraid of what came after. The tea party is not a celebration. It's a containment ritual. A system designed to keep time occupied and the one who remembers it distracted. The Hatter talks in riddles because he's trying to say too much at once. He laughs because language can't hold what he knows. His thoughts move faster than the world allows. Every tick of every clock hits him at once. He doesn't forget the way others do. He remembers that time once moved forward, that change used to exist, that Wonderland wasn't always like this, and memory, in a world built on repetition, is rebellion. In later versions of the story, the Hatter escapes the table. He fights, he survives. But that version asks a different question. What if leaving was never the point? What if staying was the sacrifice? The Hatter doesn't stay in Wonderland because he's trapped. He stays because he's necessary. And that difference changes everything. Wonderland survives on one unspoken law. Nothing is allowed to end. Not conversations, not journeys, not time itself. Endings create meaning, and meaning creates comparison. Comparison leads to judgment, and judgment threatens the illusion. So Wonderland eliminates conclusion entirely. The Hatter isn't trapped by walls. He's trapped by function. Wonderland uses him. Time didn't disappear. It withdrew from him. The moment he crossed a line he didn't understand, time stopped visiting him altogether. Everything else kept moving. He didn't, so Wonderland adapted. It gave him a role. The Hatter exists to absorb instability, to turn awareness into performance, to turn realization into ritual. As long as he's laughing, no one asks why nothing changes. As long as he's talking, no one notices the silence underneath. If he leaves, the illusion collapses. The world has to acknowledge itself. And Wonderland cannot survive that. He isn't mad. He isn't trapped. He's assigned. And the assignment never ends. If the one person who remembers progression stops performing the ritual, the stillness becomes visible. And when people notice stillness, they notice they're trapped. The moment he stops playing the fool, Wonderland has to confront what it's become. So he stays. Not because he's mad, because he understands the cost. He knows exactly what he's doing. He knows the tea will never end. He knows time will never move forward. He knows he could walk away. But he also knows what would happen if he did. As long as the Hatter laughs, Wonderland survives. And so he laughs. The Mad Hatter isn't trapped in Wonderland. Wonderland is trapped in him. If he steps away, time resumes. But then it collapses forward all at once. The illusion breaks. The repetition ends. The story finishes. And Wonderland, which depends on never reaching an ending, disappears with it. Some prisons don't have walls. They have roles. That's why he never leaves. And why he never stops laughing through all of it. Or maybe it's just a children's story. I'll leave that for you to decide. Thanks for watching.